Three men and a multiverse of sci-fi's finest spacecraft. But which ones can claim to be the greatest ships ever? Welcome to Space Doc Jury.
Welcome to Space Doc Jury episode 11. Yes, I'm Lee and I am bringing the Goa'uld Hatak.
Gesundheit.
Thank you.
I'm Peter. I'm bringing the Dalek spaceship from Dalek Invasion of Earth 2150.
Yeah, we don't know why.
Go on,
we've tried to have, to arrange an intervention to get help for him, but he insisted. So there you go.
We've got to do a Who ship sometime.
Yes, we do.
We do one of the better quality ones.
Oh, we'll just leave that to hang there. And I'm Andy, and I am bringing the mothership from Independence Day.
What a surprise, a big one.
Yay. Andy does like his big ones.
Yeah.
Euphemism.
Anyway, yes, as you can tell, it's Invasion Earth spaceships this week. And yes, we're going to get on with doing these buggers. But first, let's have a little rundown of our top 10 as it stands currently. At number 10, we have the USS Excelsior with 55 points.
Excelsior!
Nice. At number 9, we have the Derridex Warbird. Sitting there doing 56. I don't know why. Anyway, at number 8, we have Sovereign the Reaper. Assuming direct control. And then we have at number 7, with 57 points, the Shadow Battle Crab. I'm not doing that voice. I'm not. Yeah.
I can add the effect in there.
Thank you. Never mind. Too late. At number 6, we have the Normandy SR1 from Mass Effect with 57 points. At number 5, we have the USS Defiant hoovering around like a Dyson Dustbuster. Yeah. At 60. Number 4, still unchanged, we have the SSD Executor. 62 points. Dum, 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 dum. I'm not going to do any more sounds. At number 3, it still remains the same. The Battlestar Pegasus with 64. At number 2, the Borg of Cubiness with 67. And finally, at number 1, it's still there. The Dildo Snowplow of Doom. 69 points. The Vengeful Spirit.
Incidentally, how's the therapy going to get rid of those images of the Slanishi demons? Are you able to sleep at night yet?
It's not sleeping at night. It's just I have the weirdest boner. I just can't get rid of it. Whenever I see pictures of spiders, I just suddenly dying.
Yeah. They meant to say you should see a doctor if that persists after about a month.
Really? Oh dear. I think it's all gone horribly wrong. I think I've been permanently warped. Pardon the pun. So there you go. So yes, the top 4 remain unchanged, and we've had a couple of little Trek imposters in at number 9 and 10.
What do you mean imposters?
Well, they won't stay there for long, I don't think.
It's true.
But yes, so we're going to get on with spaceships that are invading Earth. But obviously, not everyone's been listening to this since episode 1, so welcome to Space Doc Jury. We do reviews in a kind of top trumps kind of fashion of spaceships from all over the multiverse. From books to TV, from video games to films to
comics
to anything. If it's got
if we ever get around to doing the Orion, we'll actually have a real one as well. So
well, if it ever takes off and actually gets into space
and makes it to Mars,
beyond Mars,
because we should be clear. Because to be eligible, you have to be manned, as in require a crew, at least most of the time, and you have to be able to travel between planetary bodies. So not moons, planets.
Yes.
Or more.
So there you go. So, yes, I suppose we better get on. Sorry, I'm having a problem with onesie. Yeah.
TMI.
With that Slanishi demon boner.
Yeah, Slanishi. See, you mentioned the Slanishi demons, and then it was all over. So I guess seeing as I lost last week, yeah, it has
to be fair, you didn't really lose. You just came last.
Thanks. That makes me feel so much better. So, with me in the lost position, that means I go first. And so now it's time for me to pull out my Stargate SG1, the first ship from that universe, which is the Goa'uld Hatak spaceship.
Jaffa! Kree!
Yes, there's no apostrophe goes unmolested in this film, in this TV show. So, the Hatak is a Goa'uld spaceship, and it's the mainstay of the fleet that serves the dual role as mothership and heavy attack vessel. The Hatak is one of the most powerful ships in the Goa'uld fleet, and only second to the larger and quite rare flagships employed by system lords. Though I have to say, we could not get any stats on the flagships, so I didn't include them. So, just thought I'd mention that. However, compared to other capital ships like those of the Asgard and the Ancients and the Ori and the Asgard upgraded Turi fleet, they are clearly inferior. As with most Goa'uld technology, Hataks also are used by the Free Jaffa Nation, or Jaffa Nation if you prefer your biscuits. And the Tok'ra rarely make use of them, and as such, it's a conspicuous vessel and not in keeping with their methods. The Hatak consists of two sections. The main section is a golden tetrahedron built to the centre of the pyramid, vehicle to be evocative of an Egyptian pyramid, containing the majority of the primary systems, as well as the command areas and glider bays. Built around the pyramid is a much larger triangle-shaped structure, which wraps around the centre of the pyramid. The outer structure houses the vessels and weapons. The oldest class of Hataks, such as those used by the Goa'uld Ra, are almost 10,000 years old. The Hatak's armaments are vast, possessing over 60 high-powered staff cannons scattered around the superstructure, and these can be used for either ship-to-ship combat or orbital bombardment. And it can also house larger complements of death gliders for use as a fighter screen on tactical manoeuvres. It's also equipped with a powerful shield and hyperdrive of superior performance to anything else in the Goa'uld fleet. The Hatak is not to be mistaken for the pyramid landing ships that are seen in the film Stargate, which is a Cheops class or Cheops class warship. There's lots of stuff about where the guider bays and cargo rooms and engine rooms are, but let's get to some of the stats. The generation is done by a Naquita reactor. Naquita, that's it. I can never pronounce that. I always see it and it doesn't work for me. It has sublight engines, which is an advanced form of propulsion, and can easily take the Hatak to 5% of light speed and velocities to where planets come in and out of view within a few minutes. For example, they went from Saturn to the Earth in a minute. And most likely these used in system to keep them from a stable altitude and gravitational fields. These engines are also used to slow the ship down when exiting hyperspace. The hyperdrive can propel a Hatak through hyperspace at 32,000 times the speed of light. A Hatak is incapable of intergalactic travel, though. It would take over 125 years for a Hatak to move from the Milky Way to the Andromeda Galaxy. And as such, it circumvents this by various means, such as stargates and hyperspace disruptions and blast waves from supernovas and various plot-related stuff.
Basically, shut up, Maxwell.
Yes. The Hatak vessels make use of defensive shields to protect them from damage and withstand extended fire from other Hatak vessels. They can take up to 12 shots, as well as radiation and heat from the corona of a blue giant for at least 9 hours. The Naquita enhanced Mark 12 Minuteman nuclear warheads have no apparent effect on them, and they have been shown to be easily overwhelmed by Asgard, Tholian, Ori and Turi ships, which we have to feature at some point. So it can take. They have weapons that can withstand capital ship blaster fire, and I'm trying to find something a bit more interesting. Although most Hatak craft do not possess a cloak. The fleet built by Sokar and then under the control of Apophis, who I mentioned last week, was outfitted with a cloaking device. They were used during the meeting with a oh God almighty, what is it? Heroa. What the hell is with these apostrophes, for God's sakes? And they can even...
It's how you know it's science fiction.
Yeah, obviously. And yeah, the cannons can do orbital bombardment. We've done all that. Each blast from these cannons can do a 200 megatons per bolt, which is pretty damn effective. And sometimes even been shown to do more based on the way they're engaged and the shield capacities of the target. Several lighter pointed defense cannons are notably present around the base of the pyramid. They can also not only fire projectile weapons, but they can also fire in homing missiles. And they have Nakrita bombs, or otherwise referred to as fancy Jafar bombs, which have an explosive power even greater than those of the staff cannons. Yeah, I'll just skip all that stuff. I think that's about it. I think that's about as far as we need to go, because it's kind of filled us in on everything.
You've used up all your apostrophes as well. So.
I have. There's not enough apostrophes
you could have saved yourself a lot of trouble. Instead of saying Batauri, you could have just said human.
Whatever. I'll be honest with you, right from the off. I find I enjoy Stargate when I'm watching it, but I never make a point of going to watch it, if you know what I mean. Oh,
yes. It was one of those shows which was great to just... It was on. It was like 6 o'clock, Sky 1. I'm good.
Stumble across it in the schedules and sit and watch it. So, let's rate this bugger then, shall we? So, the Gua'uld Hatak. Right. So, let's just start with the easy thing. Oh, God, I'm trying to put this in. Size. So let's start with the size. So the size of one of these, this is a standard one.
Yep.
Is let's do the length.
Yep.
The length is 700 meters, and the width is 650 meters, and the height is 315 meters. So that,
as is tradition, just take the longest number and we'll call it that.
Yes. So I would say that's a 7, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Right, okay. So, sublight. Now, let's have a look at this, because they mentioned that the sublight engines are something that completely different from the light speed engines.
Well, you said you could get from Saturn to the Earth in a minute. But was that via sublight? Or
that's the sublight engines can get from Saturn to the Earth in a minute.
Well, that sounds like a 5 to me.
Does sound like a 5 to me too. So there you go. FTL. Now, FTL... really, really, really fast. 32,000 times the speed of light. That's
32,000 times the speed of light. Well, where does that rank? What is warp 9?
Well, I'm just actually looking that up as we speak. But if anyone has the number in what speed,
consult the Book of Technical Manuals
to Google.
Verses 1 to 26.
Yep. So warp speed 9 is 834 times. 834 times the speed of light.
So it's a lot faster than that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. A lot faster. Well, actually, warp 9.97 is 1,500 times the speed of light.
Okay. So you're talking
about 32 times faster than that.
Yeah, 9.9 is
1,500 times the speed of light. Can cross 132 light years. In
well, I think so. If memory serves, possibly doesn't. 5 is you can instantaneously jump anywhere with no consequences whatsoever.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
4 is you can instantaneously jump, but there are side effects.
Or it's bloody fast.
These might include it takes you ages to recharge, or you get turned into a horrible demon, Slanishi demon beast.
Yep.
So I suspect we're probably looking around a 3-ish.
Sounds about right, yeah, because it's not instantaneous. But obviously, 32,000 times the speed of light will, take you 125 years to jump galaxies.
Yes.
So that's Whereas we know that B5 ships and various ships with those kind of jump things can actually do that. So there you go. Maneuverability. Well, it's a brick. It
is literally a flying pyramid.
It is
Triangular brick.
It is Bricky McBrickface, to be honest. So there's not a lot to that.
On any other day, you would have bought the most brickish ship of all, but I think both of us today might have outbricked you.
Yeah, I think you both have bricked it, to be honest.
That's the episode title.
Yep, bricked it. There you go. So, right. So now we move on to firepower. Now, firepower is going to be a little tricky, I suspect.
It is a little tricky.
Because these things have enormous firepower. I mean, they can one-shot capital ships easily. But if they're fighting equivalent ships in universe, then it takes about 12 shots.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I used to watch a lot of Stargate.
Yeah. No.
And they suffer from plot ramping, if we will. Whereas in season 1, Hatuk shows up. It's like, oh my God, we're going to die. It's the end of the world. Apophis has shown up and all this. As by the end of season 2, it's like a Hatuk shows up. They literally start quipping.
Yes.
It's it's just like, what? I'm in this little Goa'uld transporty sort of thing. And it's just like, we'll be fine, you know. It hit us. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
It very much, they start off like these death dealing, we're going to absolutely kill you all and your mothers and so forth. To, again, towards the later series, it's just like, that they're so low down on the totem pole, it's almost a joke when Apophis returns with one. It's like, really?
But then he turns up with one that's like 3 times the size and basically blows
Oh, no,
everything
I meant even after Sokar's one.
Oh, right.
After that one blows up, he comes back again later because, you know, as Jack O'Neill once says, dead or just dead? Because it's a whole grey area of you guys.
Yeah. So, what are we going to do here? Because we know we got 60 cannons that can deal out 200 megatons per bolt.
Yeah,
which is fairly hefty.
It's an impressive number, but I would put it that it's more a case of what we see it do. I'm pretty sure a mothership can waste a city quite happily. In fact, it even does that, and although I think it's a dream sequence or whatever you want to do, it pretty much one of them destroys Washington DC quite happily. So you're definitely in that whole destroying a city thing. I don't think it will one-shot any capital ship in the Stargate universe. And I just mean that, I mean, these things regularly were going up against each other, the Asgard, and the humans.
But that comes down to shields and, as you say, plot ramping with the other spaceships brought in later in the series. This is the Borg thing all over again, isn't it?
It is very much the Borgy sort of thing. I mean, what is this one-shotting a city at?
We're 9 for city
levelers. We're at 9s. Yeah, because also the thing is, these ships not only those 60 guns, which can presumably, I mean, because 200 megatons per shot and 60 of them. I mean, in theory, what you're talking about is slagging an entire planet.
You slag an entire planet over time. I mean, you get into the Star Wars ships like the Star Destroyer and all that. I think they start going into the gigaton territory with their armaments.
Yeah.
I think 9 and 10-ish is where I would be pegging you at.
Yeah, well, I was also going to say, because this is more for you because you're more of a Stargater than me, to be honest. Where do you stand on Naquita bombs as well, which are like singularity bombs? Because there's a few of those on this thing as well.
The Naquita bombs were always this weird thing in Stargate, where I think it's around season 4 or something like this. Literally out of nowhere, Naquita becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And at first, it's just this mineral which they had, and they could improvise it and use it as an explosiony sort of thing. I don't honestly recall them featuring a huge amount. The few occasions they had Naquita bombs, it was always a big deal, like, oh my God, we've got a Naquita bomb. We've got this one chance to use this thing and to do so-and-so and all that. But even then, it was usually acts of plot which even got them on the ship.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. And even then, when you did blow those up, it's the whole, you're blowing it up from the inside.
Yes.
As we know, when you're inside the shields and you're blowing something up, it really isn't as much. I mean, I'd be inclined to almost not include the Naquita one, and I'm just saying that just because they're so inconsistent with whether or not they had them or not.
Well, I mean, it's only because I'm only saying this because the Stargate wiki has them listed as an unknown number of Naquita bombs on board.
But
these ships.
I think again, it's stating the unknown number for the reason I just stated. It's on a few instances they showed up. Even if you want to include them, a Naquita bomb is unless you can get it inside a ship around its shields and all that. You're one-shotting the capital ship with that. That's really all it can do.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, I'm not arguing it. I'm just literally trying to kind of get a scale on this thing.
It says here, actually, if you go to the wiki page on the Naquita bombs, it literally says they are akin to nuclear weapons. That is kind of like where they're pegging them at.
Yeah,
so
it's a chemical bomb would be 1,000,000 times more powerful, is how they quote it. So, okay. So we'll just say, if we just split the difference and say one shot a capital ship and give it a 10 and be done with it, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Cool, okay. So, defense. We know it has point defense, so that's 1 point.
Yep.
We also know it has fighters, a lot of them.
It does have a lot of fighters, yeah.
A lot of them.
And unlike certain shuttles, these are offensive craft.
Yes, death gliders.
Yes. So absolutely that counts.
Death gliders, which are in themselves fairly powerful ships.
Yep.
Because they've got 2 staff cannons as well, so they've got 2 cannons which are going to do 200 fucking megatons. But again, I know.
I no idea where this person has got this number from.
Don't ask me.
But I feel I need to slap them.
Well, take it up with them. Don't take it up with me.
Oh wait, I can just edit the thing directly, can't I?
What, the wiki? Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Start doing what the Transformer wiki does. So that's 2 for active. That's 2 for active defense.
Yep.
So that's probably all I'm going to go for there. I mean, it does have homing missiles as well, seeker missiles, but that's part of the point defense, I guess.
Yeah, I think that is part of its point
defense.
Okay,
so that's 2 for active defense.
Yep.
Passive defense, it has a fairly solid shield, which equivalent ships can only bust through after like 12 decent, solid shots, but fighters can't get through at all. So I'm going to pitch that, he says, reaching for his shields. I'm pitching that as a kind of a 4, kind of a Trek shields kind of thing.
I'd say more of a 3, and that's just based on, in the episodes, it can say 12 shots, but it's like 4 or 5 shots, and, oh, look, there's a hole, we can fly into it there. The shields were really wank on the Hutux.
Okay.
In fact, they even make a point of stating that when Anubis had his uprated one, it had decent shields.
Yeah, fair enough.
I bet they were What-Ank as well, with an apostrophe.
Yeah, What-Ank.
What-Ank.
Nice. So, that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so that's the 3 for passive. Now, special. Okay.
Special.
Now, I don't know where... I keep forgetting where we bring these in, but basically, Hutux have... somewhere in the region of 2,000 Jafar troops.
I think that definitely comes under special.
Yes, and it carries long-range carrier warships. And
carrier warships?
Apparently, I'm just reading. I'm not going to go into it. So if you are questioning it, I'm not even going to question it.
I'm just curious as to what they
3 wings Al-Kesh bombers. There you go.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, they're offensive more so than defensive. They're the bombers, so forth. So I think they kind of come under your firepower, and you're already doing more firepower with your Naquita bombs. So
fair enough.
I decide.
Yep,
but I will tell you what you can have.
Yeah,
I think you earn another point for the transport rings.
Transport rings,
which are those are the wonderful things where they kind of beam down to a ship, and that's where you beam your Naquita bombs up through.
So that's 2.
Yes,
and on top of that,
hang on. Transporter rings.
No, just in this instance, not transporters.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The transporter rings bypass the shields entirely to other Goa'uld ships and so forth.
Yeah.
So if you're on a Hutux,
transportors that can't go through shields.
They can't go through.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. We're not having that conversation again. Two whole episodes in a row.
Yeah, it's ain't tractor beams all over.
Tractor beams. Yeah, we're not having the tractor beams conversation.
I was going to say, if you've got to have tractor beams, you can't have transporters, but
no, that's fair
again,
enough.
These sound like special transporters.
These are a more offensive kind of weaponry kind of thing. Basically, you can beam entire troops on board.
In numerous instances, they, like I said, in the Stargate film, they beam the nuclear warhead onto Ra's ship through the rings.
Yeah. So
Ouch.
they can transport all sorts of stuff through them. So that's 3 now for special, isn't it? 2 special.
2.
The other thing is, as mentioned, cloaking device. 3.
The cloaking devices, a couple of them had cloaking devices.
Don't start. I've read it out. I've mentioned the Apophis one. I mentioned that and it says he has a ship with a cloaking device. Ergo, point.
No, sir. For Apophis's one was a special one. It was different. They do not have cloaking devices.
Hold on. I shall return to the piece of information. Cloaking devices. Though most attacks do not possess a cloak,
There you go.
Okay.
That's all you have to say.
Fine. I'm not getting into this. I don't care enough about this fucking ship enough to fight that corner. I'm giving it 2 for special. Happy?
Yes.
Good.
All this for a point.
I was going to say, all this for 1 point is probably a bit much. Right. Okay, so the next thing we're on to is size. Now, this is quite surprising, this one.
True size, yes.
Yeah, because even though it's massive, it says minimum crew is 1 to 12 people.
Wow. Automation for you.
It's the old instance of lots and lots of ground troops and so forth. But generally speaking, you just need one bloke with a fancy bracelet to run the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that puts the crew size at around 2 by my scale.
Yeah. And actually, in most instances, that was the exception rather than the rule. It was usually one system lord or one Gould would have the ship, and then everyone else was just their bodyguards and minions and so forth.
Yeah, but nevertheless.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Competence. Now, here we go. How competent would you say a system lord and attendant hangers-on were on board a ship like this? They all tended to...
Do you want my absolute honest answer?
I think they were fucking ridiculously useless.
They were amongst sci-fi villains, the worst.
Yeah.
I tell you what, they'd give a Daleks a run for their money. It's like they are...
They were very much, I'm going to rule the world, and then someone would jump out from behind a cupboard and go, nah, 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 and they go, no, stop the invasion plans, chase after him. Yeah, they were idiots.
With the possible exception of Ra, every single Goa'uld system lord we meet is fucking retarded. With all respect, they are just terrible.
Right. I am honestly going to go for 1.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of down where I would think they need to be.
Cool.
Even the quote best of them, which is probably Anubis and Sokar, are completely undone purely by their own hubris.
Absolutely. So, right, let's move on to exterior realization. It's fine CGI. I mean, it's not the most impressive looking ship I've ever seen, to say the least, with its big stupid pyramid in the middle of it.
It's like somebody said, okay, we need it's Egyptian, we need a flying pyramid. Well, that's not going to do because that doesn't look like a spaceship. Well, let's take this spaceship we've got here and stick a pyramid in it.
Yeah.
That'll make it look Egyptian.
I never got why, because I really like Ra's ship in the film. I think that looks really cool.
Yeah.
There's giant pyramids come down and then you get the kind of glowy lights out of it. And all. I think Ra's ship looked fucking awesome. And then you get her tux. And I understand TV budgets, you can't afford the same level of effects. I understand that. But they just look wank. I don't get why they've got this. It's almost like someone has gotten a gold-covered Toblerone and then shoved it up the tray thing from a Ferrero Rocher. It's just... I don't understand why that's there.
I always equated them to someone basically jamming a Toblerone into a plug hole.
Yeah. They're not...
They're butt plugs.
Yeah.
And I think it's evidence that, again, once you get kind of past seasons 4 or 5, they just stopped using them. They just like...
Well, in fairness, the Goa'uld were pretty much gone by that point. But,
yeah, exactly. I mean, Sokar's one was kind of a cooler thing because it was slightly bigger and it was a bit different. But yeah, the other thing which kind of really annoyed me as well is I'm pretty sure it's a 3-sided pyramid. Whereas it really should be a four-sided pyramid for it to be the whole kind of Egyptian theme they had going on there.
Yep, it's a
And it's just like,
tetrahedron.
that's... Seriously, guys, there's really no excuse to mess that up.
No. So, right, okay, so I'm reckoning I'm going to pitch for a 3 on realisation.
I think a 3 is probably where you want to be at. I mean, it's late 90s CG.
Yeah, it's late
Early
90s
2000s,
CG, and the
yeah.
model design isn't that great,
Yeah.
if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think about a 3.
What about you, Pete? I mean,
Yeah, no, I mean the CG's all right.
Yeah.
It's the design that lets it down a bit, really.
Yeah, exactly. The interior, it's the finest sets that Universal could put together on a budget of like 35p.
It was the sets are wow. I mean, I've raged on a few sets in the past, but never before have we seen a ship which includes silk curtains.
I was going to say, does it have curtains?
It has.
That's always
curtains.
a bad sign.
It has long, flowing silk curtains, and again, it's like it's so clearly just a bloody. I don't even think they bothered putting any like tiling on the floor. It's just a studio floor in some instances.
Yeah. It looks like someone. It looks like they snuck in during break while someone was actually filming the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
And just thought, oh look, they're out! Quick, run in!
and it has quote generic corridors, kind of like you get with Star Trek and the Enterprise. But whereas in Star Trek you always get a sense of these carry on and there's a real ship and there's kind of an internal sense to the geography. In this, no, it's just this one corridor with a single turn in it, and it just keeps randomly popping up with no correlation whatsoever between.
You always got the feeling they were actually running around in circles.
No, not even circles. You always get the sense that they were running past the camera, then stopping and going back and doing it again.
Nice. So, based on all of that, and it is starting to sound like we're throwing it under the bus, but based on that, I would say I'm probably going to ask for a 2.
I think 2 is probably where it wants to be at. Yeah.
No, and that's only for the soft furnishings. Right. Science. Science is crazy land. We're off.
Science is a thing which exists, but has nothing to do with this ship.
Absolutely, that's a 1. Big fat 1. And that's purely only because they mentioned the word megatons in the blast thing. So there you go. So that's unless anyone wants to argue that.
No.
Right. Okay, so cool factor. Now, I've got 4 and you guys have got 3 each?
3
yeah.
this time, yeah.
Yeah.
On the one hand, I think this is an ugly, ugly, ugly ship. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I have to applaud it in the same way as I applaud a lot of Babylon 5 ships for its uniqueness. It certainly is not a ship that looks like anything else.
No.
Be that for good or ill. And so I do have a sort of grudging respect for it. Now, I'm not going to give it a 4. No way. I'm going to give it a 3. And like I say, it's not because it's a particularly impressive ship, but I admire the fact that it's a different ship. During the 90s, CGI ships seemed to either be starfish or big flying bricks with lots of greebles on the outside. And to have something that looked ornate, if nothing else, and kind of interesting design, I've got to give it a 3 for that. So it's 3 for me. What about you, Pete?
Well, I've really not seen that much Stargate, so I'm literally working on the little bits I saw off YouTube today in the stills. It's not badly realised, but and on the other hand, it's not exactly a design I could get massively excited about. So I'm not going to kick it. I'm going to give it 2 out of 3.
Okay, so we're on 5. Andy?
For me, it was... The disappointment was, again, it follows on from Var's ship, which was, for me, it's a really well realised... Because, again, the whole thing with the Stargate film was this... It was the Egyptians are aliens sort of cliche thing, but realised and well realised, the way the Jafar had the heads of the gods, which was really, really cool, and that pyramid was just such a cool and iconic ship. This it seemed more like something, a kid's made out of, he hasn't got all the bits for the kit and he's just kind of bodged it together as best he has. and again, there's so many other ships in Stargate I do much prefer for it. For me, I'm probably going to give it a 1. I'm not going to give it a 0 because, again, I like the series and all that's well and good, but for me, it's kind of a 1. The Hatuk was the meh of the Goa'uld ships.
Okay, so that gives it a cool factor of 6, which I think is about fair. Which then leads me to the grand total for the Goa'uld Hatuk is 48 points.
Yep.
Which doesn't put it in our top 10. It puts it down in the sort of like the mid-15s.
Yep.
So there you go. Well, that's certainly an interesting start. I thought purely based on size and firepower this would wheel in, but I think we've put paid to our...
Yeah, size and firepower isn't everything, clearly.
No, we've clearly put paid to the naysayers for that one. So cool. Well, that's great. So, let's move on to our next ship. Now, who wants to go next?
I nominate Peter.
Right.
Okay, right. So, I shall attempt to rate the Dalek spaceship from Dalek Invasion of Earth 2150. Now, this isn't your average Doctor Who spaceship, because let's face it, your average Doctor Who spaceship always looks a bit wobbly and cheap. Whereas this is clearly a quality production.
Excuse me.
No, just let him talk. Let him talk. Just let him talk. The film was created by Amicus in 1966 using the plot of the second TV Dalek adventure, following on from their successful adaptation of the first. Famously, of course, it stars Peter Cushing rather than William Hartnell as the Doctor, with future TV companion Bernard Cribbins as PC Plod, or somebody, I can't actually remember his character's name. PC Plod.
He starts out as a policeman, so that'll do. He's quite fun, actually, in this.
Right.
And to be frank, Peter Cushing is a far better first Doctor than William Hartnell is. A, because he knows all his lines.
Yeah.
And B, because he's actually quite likeable.
Yes.
But anyway, it's great fun bank holiday fodder, this film, to be honest. I'm not a great fan of the first one, I hasten to add, but the second one is actually really nice. But yes, the Dalek invasion ship for this flick is not your usual saucer. I mean, literally, in some of the Dalek stories in the TV series, it was just like a frisbee somebody had thrown. Or otherwise, they sometimes used what looked like upended saucepans. But this is an actually properly created model with style, let's face it, that screams 1960s. It looks like a cross between a spacecraft and a hovercraft, doesn't it?
It looks like something.
And whereas the TV show had to settle for the best they could pull off with the copper coins they had to spend on effects, the Dalek movies, and particularly this one, far more polished and impressive when it came to effects. Partly thanks to a lucrative sponsorship deal the filmmakers made with Quaker Oats.
Are you sure it wasn't with Ford and the Ford Anglia?
No, definitely Quaker Oats, because you can see several posters for Sugar Puffs visible throughout the film. The ship was realised with a combination of model work, and the model was quite cool. Come on, guys, you've got to admit the model was quite cool. You seen it in action?
Yes,
with a rotating central disc. I mean, that's quite nice. Admittedly, part of the time it's also a matte painting, and blatantly a matte painting. And then when you get onto the internal sets, Anyway, the model was so good, it was reused by Tygon for their 1969 film The Body Stealers. So there you are.
Anyone remember seeing that?
I bet Jim does.
I'm going to be honest with you. That's not necessarily a recommendation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not a lot is known about this ship in terms of stats. So there's a deal of guesswork, stroke fudging going on here. Okay,
Making it up as we go along.
Pretty much like the model itself, but
Yes.
yeah. Because you know how size. Oh, that's easy because we know it's no sizes on the internet whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
The entry hatch, which you see on the live prop as well, that's full scale, seems to cover about the radius of the saucer and seems to be about 15 meters long. So we're looking at a diameter of 30 meters, give or take. But let's face it, that's a 1 anyway. So
okay, we're into scoring. Okay, let's do this.
Hey.
Hey.
And now we're in the scoring. Can I just address that whole... the fuck are you talking about? Quality production.
It's wonderful.
Are you talking
I love
for the time or just in general? Are you talking? Are you talking about it's a quality production for the time, or are you saying it's a quality production in general?
Definitely for its time, but I'm just concentrating on the model here rather than the film generally, because there's all sorts of things you could say about the film. But the model itself, yes, all right. There's one scene where it's blatantly on strings.
We'll get to realization later.
Exactly, it's going to suffer slightly there. But I love the fact those spinny wheel things are a thing of beauty as far as I'm concerned. And it's basically, you remember the old Dalek comics? Do you ever see any of those?
Yes, yeah, I had them.
Yeah, it's straight out the pages of the Dalek comics. It's that 1960s, sort of, it's the future, but it's clearly still the 1960s look.
Which came first, though, the film or the comics? Just out of interest.
They were basically, this isn't right in the middle of Dalek Mania, or rather towards the end of Dalek Mania, so the comics have been out for a little while at this point.
Okay. I was just wondering if the design in the comics was influenced by the film, since the film was a big deal at the time.
I mean, I don't know a lot about Who, but I did have those comics, and I would say, from what I remember, I would imagined it would have been the other way round.
Fair enough.
I definitely had the film, as in the second Dalek film, came out just as Dalek Mania was coming to an end, because it actually didn't do that well at the box, because they were hoping to make a third as well. It's done a really, far shoddier Dalek adventure called The Chase, but thankfully that never came to pass.
Oh, sweet merciful Christ!
Well, yes, because if you, as I say, I think the Dalek Invasion of Earth 2150 has its charms. It's compared to the first one, it's quite cool, and you compare it to the TV version, which, Anyway, shall we
wait. When you complain about the TV show, which version are you complaining about?
As in the William Hartnell black and white.
Oh, okay, original. All right, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. We just
the
cool.
proper show. So we've done size. Doesn't get much better from here onwards, I hasten to add.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
In terms of speed, well, it doesn't mention fast and light, so let's give it 0 for fast and light.
Okay.
Well, I'd say you can have 1 for faster than light, and the reason I say you get 1 is the Daleks are not native to the Sol system.
Well, that was kind of going to be my point on sublight. At the very least, it's either going to have a high sublight and no fast and light, or I don't know.
I would say you could take 1 on both on the counts we don't know either way.
Yeah. I'd go along with that.
So 1 on sublight then is... 1 on FTL is FTL but unknown type, I suppose.
Yeah. And we don't know whether or not it took them years, months, days, weeks, or whatever to get across the solar system.
No. Let's face it, they're walking, talking salt and pepper shakers, so they're not exactly in a huge rush.
And also, it's worth mentioning... Well, I tell you what, I'll throw you a bone here, because obviously the modern-day Dalek saucers, which you're not impressed with, but we'll get to that kind of kettle of fish another day. But they are shown, they're obviously descendants of this one.
Yeah.
So we've got to take what they do to a certain degree as kind of a reference.
Point of order, though, I do seem to recall the honourable gentleman did make a point of saying this is either a mirror universe or a parallel universe or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't your actual.
Because the Doctor's actually human, isn't it? In this,
yes, the inference is heavily that he is. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it doesn't fit with Who continuity whatsoever.
No, the only reason I was saying this, I'm not going to be one to give it a complete kick in at this point. But
no, that comes later.
Yeah, that comes later. But in the case of alternate universes and that kind of thing, what tends to change is it tends to be the characters. But the hardware, even when we look at Trek and the mirror universes and all that kind of stuff, the actual in-universe stuff still remains fairly constant. Correct? The TARDIS still works like the TARDIS. The Enterprise in Trek 09.
You're on dangerous territory as soon as you start going towards that, because in later Who, as in the TV series, the Daleks have time travel.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get to that, but the thing all I was going to say was the sources that we see in the Russell T Davies series can quite clearly traverse a solar system in a matter of hours. Is what I'm trying to say. And if we take that as at least a base reference, then you can say that it's got a sublight of, 3. 3 or 4.
Yeah, I was going to go for 4 for sublight and zip for FTL because there's never any mention of it.
To be honest, though, the thing is, I don't like that precedent. And the only reason I don't like that precedent is, again, within, say, Star Trek or things like that, even if you accept that there are basic laws of convention and technology which stay the same, there's a wide difference between various bits of that tech. Some stuff, is much more advanced, some stuff is much less advanced, and so on and so forth. I mean, the only time I think you see the Dalek saucer flying in the film is in atmosphere sort of thing, and it's flying along, and it's not particularly going at a great rate of knots. Strings not permitting. All I'm saying is we do not see any evidence at all of its sublight or its FTL capabilities. And I think when we have no evidence whatsoever, we have to go to its lowest common.
But then they'll have travelled from Skaro, which we don't know where that is, but it's not in our solar system.
It's not even
So
in the
Do
galaxy.
they state they're from Skaro in this way?
But that's just Daleks in general.
That's
But again,
I mean, you can argue the toss about the Doctor, but these are the same Daleks ultimately. They don't, with the exception of their guns, they don't. There is no differentiation between these Daleks and the Daleks we see in the TV series.
Yeah.
As I say, I would say that you get 4 for sublight and zip for FTL because there's no, absolutely
mention
no
of it.
proof that they have one.
I would be more, again, as at most maybe 3 for sublight and 1 for FTL.
Why 3? Just out of interest, because that would put
what
it.
you said. Just because that's what you said. I personally think it should be 1 and 1. We have zero we've got zero evidence, zero influence, zero anything whatsoever.
Except for the fact that they ain't locals, so they've.
Well, they're not locals, but again, they could have.
Either they've got FTL or they've got a decent sublight.
But again, if we're saying 1, they have some form of FTL. 1 is you have some form of FTL of which we don't know. So 1 is saying they have FTL capable, and then we're saying on the sublight was 1 because.
But I'm not sure you can say that when there's there's no mention of FTL. I mean, it's fine if they mention FTL, but we don't know how it rates. But if there's no mention of FTL, then they've just got to have really fast sublight in my book.
Yeah,
But I don't see why they have to have fast sublight if they don't have FTL, because again, the difference between if you don't have FTL, get there. Yeah, but you've got to get there. But if you've not got FTL, you're taking eons
to
get
there in the journey. I mean, they're not immortal.
But then by that logic, then. How long do you measure the Dalek's lifespan?
Oh, no,
hold on. Hang on. Hang about.
My point is, if it's not FTL and it's all on the sublight, it really makes no matter whatsoever if it would take you days or years to cross the solar system. The distances involved, at that point, it's academic. It's like arguing whether or not, in the grand scheme of the universe, whether an ant or a cat is a more important being. If you get my point, it's like these things are so small in that galactic scale, it makes no difference whatsoever. So if it doesn't have FTL, it makes no matter whatsoever what speed we've got on sublight, because it makes not a jot of difference in how long it takes you to get somewhere. When you're talking galactic distances.
All I will say, maybe this will help clear things up or start another argument. Let's see. But the way I was doing the reason we were doing sublight is because it was the ship just ambling about.
It was because we had things like the Pegasus, which can do very fast FTL.
But it's not just that; it's also things like fighters. The X-wing, it has to fly about, so it's going slower than light speed.
Yes.
So that's sublight. So that's like driving around in your car doing 30 miles an hour, and then when you get on the motorway, you go to FTL, aka you hit the turbo and you put your foot on the floor and go completely different speed. Yeah. So I don't think you can automatically turn around and say that sublight doesn't matter, because, and even if there's no FTL, because as we've got on our scale, the fastest sublight is essentially pushing right up to light speed. So it's going from 0 up to 69 miles an hour, and then 70 miles an hour is when we're on the motorway. Boom, we're off. Do you know what I mean? So
well, I mean, as you said before, I don't care enough to really argue about it. All I'm saying is we have zero information, zero influences, zero anything. By your own admission, Pete, there's fuck all about this on there. So
yeah,
my thoughts would be to default it down to 0 or down to 1. But if you want to take 5 for that and then take 0 for FTL,
I wasn't saying 5. I was saying 4.
Yeah, but then.
But
as
then
Lee's just said, you've got to be pushing the FTL barrier.
Otherwise, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah. So, to be perfectly honest, like I said, I don't care enough either way to argue here. I'm just saying that when we have no information about something, it should go to, especially with FTL. I think it's like we know it. Mm-hmm. As you say, it has travelled from outside the solar system.
Yeah.
That is not question. That's without question, right? I'm saying that it has to be capable of FTL to achieve that, because I don't think sublight speeds. If I could be asked, I'd do a quick Google check, but I'm pretty sure. In fact, I'm going to do a quick look. So at 4.5% the speed of light, which I think would be a 4, it would take you 100 years to get to our closest star, which is Alpha Centauri. Now, I don't know where Skaro is in the grand scheme of things.
Nobody
I'm sure
does.
Fans do
No,
in the
don't.
grand scheme of things. My point is, I think it's safe to say it is not local. But regardless of that, at sublight speeds, and that's 4.5% the speed of light, right? That's 4.5%. It would take you 100 years to get to our closest star. And again, as we've often said on this cast, space is big.
Yeah.
It's really big. I mean, you might think the distance down to your shops is a long way, which is nothing compared to space. I'm just saying, if it's not FTL, the distances and the time involved are literally approaching
Crazy.
Millennial. Like, we're talking centuries to do it. And all I'm saying is, you either say it's FTL, and then fine, we just say we don't know what it is, it's just FTL, whatever. And then we take the sublight as, again, we don't know. So we're just assuming 1 or 2, whatever, it can travel and all that. Or you say it's doing 5 on the sublight, which is up to FTL, and then you give it the 0 on the thing there. But even then, for me, that just seems a little bit disingenuous insofar as it comes down to how long does a Dalek live?
Which we don't know.
Put it this way, we have just spent more thought on this than the writers of that film did.
Yes, that was not an issue for them. I think it's fair to say.
No, I mean,
just to put as a point of clarification, because the sublight was supposed to reflect the fact that we were supposed to have, so that fighters would score a reasonable amount.
Yeah.
It was fighters, it was smaller craft, because again, it came about because when we had things like the Pegasus, which could instantaneous FTL jump, and then you had something like the White Star, which was very quick in its sublight things, that just wouldn't score. So that's why we split them up in that fashion.
See, the only way you can... But the thing is, just to really throw the cat amongst the pigeons... And
you mean it's not already there?
Well, maybe I'll throw another one in. That you can have a score of 4, which is what I would have put for sublight, and still have FTL. Because if you have 2 engines that do different things, which we've established do happen in certain ships... like the Heart of Gold. The Heart of Gold doesn't improbability drive all over the place. Yeah. It has engines for travel and it has engines for jumping.
Yeah.
And, same with the Enterprise.
Not arguing that in the one bit. No, absolutely. My point is though.
Yeah.
We have no evidence. We don't see any of that.
The unknown.
It is completely unknown, and I'm saying when it is unknown, it has to default to look. It's either 0 or 1. I think if it's unknown, if you have no information on it, you have to say, I don't know. So you either mark it 0 or you just default it to 1, is what I'm saying. I'm saying even if you had one shot, if you've had a shot of it coming from the moon to the Earth, and it said it took it 2 minutes to do that, fine, then you can extrapolate from that to work something out. And from that point, you can say, all right, fine. Because it can do this, we can extrapolate it could do that, and then fine, that puts it 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want to call that. But we have no information on that. Again, we just had to guess the size based on the size of the door.
Yeah. So what we're saying is, as well as one under FTL being FTL but unknown type, under sublight, we're putting one down as crossing the solar system in years. Or
I would put it to you, Right Reverend Organ. You did pick a spaceship we never see go into space.
Yes, I did. Guilty as charged.
So,
And the wheels have come off.
that's all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. This is starting to sound horribly like the Reaper conversation. We've picked a ship with a crew that doesn't have a crew per se.
Yeah.
Right, okay. The wheels have come off again.
Look, honestly, look. If you gents want to give it 3 or 4, I honestly I don't mind.
I can completely see your logic, Mr. Andy. I think that's fair enough.
So it's a 1 on sublight and 1 on FTL.
I think it is because we just don't know.
Oh God, Lord. There's a serious
and maneuverability. I'm just going to say now.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's on
that's all.
strings. Whatever we've given things on strings before now, it's on strings.
I would say, though, in fairness, I have watched it in the recent couple of days. It does actually manage to turn faster than a Goa'uld attack.
Oh,
Yeah.
in that case, fair enough. Give it 2 or 3. I mean, I will.
I think 2 is probably as much as you can
Yeah,
give it.
2 is what I would have given it. That's
Okay.
I wasn't pushing for a lot. I was just literally like, okay,
No, that's fair point. Well made.
we've got to base it based on what we've given everything else.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we move away from speed now? Because that was all the sticky bits.
Oh God,
Bit of a sticky wicket. Having flashbacks to episode 3.
I was going to say I'm getting flashbacks to the Pegasus all over again. It's,
The firepower we can be a little more specific about, thankfully.
yes, go on in.
It's armed with cosmic rays,
Right.
one of which takes out an entire van with a single shot.
So on our chart, what does one shotting a van come as?
But wait, you see. Because they also managed to bombard the Earth with meteorites, trashing London, and you've got to assume other cities in the world as well. But because it's Doctor Who, we only ever see the effect on good old Blighty. So it's got at least city-levelling firepower.
So it's got mass drivers
Effectively, yes.
from Babylon.
Wait. Does it have mass drivers, or does it?
All we're told,
Well, it doesn't call them mass drivers, but it does actually just.
Right.
it manages to bombard the Earth with asteroids.
Okay,
So-
fair enough.
That's a fairly hefty one. Now that
That
I
is,
would
yeah.
put that.
I mean,
what are you aiming for then,
Well,
Pete?
I think 9 for city levelling, isn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, no, fair enough.
9 it is.
Because we do see the effects on London, and it is pretty bashed up.
I mean, a cynical person might think they just used some stock footage from after the Blitz, but no.
Oh no! There's a few map paintings there as well.
Oh,
Yeah, lots of paint and lots of pink and purple paint dyed that day.
yeah.
It's interesting. You've finally got into double figures after 5 categories. Anyway, so let's carry on.
Oh,
Active defence.
Now we get on to shakier ground. Not aware of any, so 0.
Yep. So that's a 0. Okay, doing well so far. Passive defence.
Passive defence. There's no mention of shields, so it's just a question of whether we assume it comes equipped with at least heavy armour or it's just low armour. We've got nothing to, it's never under attack on screen.
No.
It just throws a big wobbly when it comes to the magnetic core of the Earth being shifted or some such bollocks. But it's got 1 or 2, and I throw myself on your mercy for that.
I can guess that Andy's going to be less than sympathetic on this one. But again, I will say that based on Daleks themselves, who can take a pounding, I can't imagine they build a ship that was weaker than them.
One would hope not.
So-
all I'm going to say for that is Ace baseball bat.
A supercharged with the power of Omega baseball bat. That's not any order.
Yeah, you're dancing on very thin ice, Andy. You're walking into his domain. You're literally.
All I'm saying, I've seen the GIF. She has a baseball bat.
No. There is
Dalek.
more to that baseball bat than it just being a baseball bat. Believe me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you've walked into the lion's den, you've stuck your head in its mouth, and you've slapped its love spuds with a wet towel there, Andy.
And you know what? I still feel confident.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be troubling the top 10. Let's be honest with you.
Yeah.
No.
Look, if you want to give it an extra point based on another ship, so be it.
I'm not doing that. No, I'm purely. If I was going to argue this myself, I would say that given Daleks and the way that Daleks are, and given
supposedly the masters of the universe and all that.
Yes, I can't imagine that they would build a ship that wasn't as strong as they were. That's all I'm saying.
Have you met the Daleks?
Sorry?
Have you met the Daleks? They're not the smartest cookies in the drawer.
Yeah, but have you seen the Daleks in action? They are very hard to kill unless you've got some mud that you can throw in their eye. But nevertheless, you can't actually beat one to death unless you've got a special baseball bat, and you certainly can't shoot one.
Well,
so we're going for 2 for passive then.
I would have said
have
2.
your 2. Have your 2.
I would say 2.
Because when it comes to special, I'm not aware of anything.
Yeah, that's a big fat 0.
Don't Daleks count as special?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Out of a crew? I think you get 1 for special.
You get 1 for Daleks, definitely.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this Daleks is the same as Jafar troopers and Borg drones.
You've got ground troops and
These
stuff.
particular Daleks are armed with fire extinguishers for no adequately explained reason.
I'm trying to be nice and give you a point. And
I was going to say,
actually, in the TV series, Dalek fires and everything goes black and white. Well, unless it's already black and white, in which case it just goes inverse.
Pete,
and the person dies.
Pete.
In this series, in the films, they fire extinguishers for no goddamn good reason. So they have like a range of about a meter.
Pete,
take the point away. He's talked himself out of it.
I was going to say he has talked himself out of it, but you know what else he's talked himself out of?
What?
The whole thing where I was saying the passive defense.
Yeah,
they only build ships as strong as they are. These Daleks are clearly fucking idiots.
I told you. You wouldn't listen. I fucking told you.
Okay, one for passive. There you go.
Oh, but I think it would be heavy armed.
Oh, well, in truth,
based on what?
In truth, they would be.
Seriously, I'm asking you, Peter. What are you basing that on?
The wheels have come off. Why are Mummy and Daddy fighting?
I'm not mad. I'm actually asking, what are you basing that on?
Because they're cool.
How much beer have you drunk, Pete?
Hey, I say the ship only gets destroyed by the magnetic core of the Earth going all wonky.
But there's nothing else to fight it.
No. So there you are. We don't know. Are we going to have a don't know score for passive armor as well?
I've just put it on 1. I've just dropped it to 1. It's got to have some kind of armor.
So that question is yes.
Yeah. Oh dear. Okay, crew size
I'd like to say things improve with this, but Dalek ship.
It has a crew, yes.
Yes.
Well, that's on 1.
They don't appear to carry many Daleks because they can only afford to build around about 4 Dalek props.
So you saying that there's a crew of 4?
Now, you go to the TV version of the Dalek Invasion of Earth, there are serried ranks of Daleks. Mm. Most of them are cardboard cutouts.
I've got a picture here of Peter Cushing with 8 Daleks.
Whee!
Okay, so we got 8.
Most of those won't actually be operated, but they were on screen, so that's okay.
Jesus Christ, this is the Pete Organ shoots himself in the foot cast. What the...
Well, what about those blokes in the black latex?
Oh, the Robo-Men. Well, they're not native. They're
not crew.
Crewing the
they're
ship.
Not crew. Okay.
They're literally human beings they've just taken over. So
they're wanky Cybermen.
You can't.
Yeah.
They're even less good than that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, what you're saying is the crew of this ship is basically a 1.
I think I probably am.
Wow. This is making Button Moon look
I was
like
gonna say-
Excelsior.
It's going to be.
It's all less.
Fuck's sake.
Well, especially since the next one up is competence.
Oh, for
Yeah,
goodness. One.
Yeah. Mileage may vary on this.
No, it won't. It won't.
Well, they are the masters of the universe,
Says who?
but
And if it's them, it doesn't count.
again, they are armed with fire extinguishers for no adequately explained reason.
At this
Yeah.
point,
They've
listeners,
invaded the entire Earth, so they've got to be pretty good to do that.
that's true.
All you're saying is they're better than we are, and that's not difficult.
No, that's fair enough. I'll give him that.
I was wavering between 2 and 3 on this. Basically, I don't know.
I personally would have. I would actually throw you a bone and give you a 3 because Daleks are supposed to be terrifying Nazis that overrun planets.
I'm not even going to fight. Have a 3. Go on.
At this point, Andy, it's not even going to beat Button Moon, so really, I wouldn't worry about it. You can give it 100 if you like. But at this point,
Realization.
okay,
This should be good.
yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm gonna sit back and let you just dig yourself a hole. I've helped you out
So-
far enough.
So on the upside, we have fantastic 60s styling. We have those rotating saucers. Unfortunately, they have gone for the authentic look of the TV series with visible strings. That is going to hamper it slightly. I can't help feeling. It's nicely lit, and well,
it has green screen that would put a weatherman to shame.
Can I push for a 2?
Andy,
I refuse to answer the question on the grounds that it might incriminate me.
I'm going to be honest with you, mate.
After last week, because
Yeah.
Pete mentioned this is what he wanted to do, and we're like, oh, okay, a Dalek ship, and he went, no, this Dalek ship, and me and Lee both were like quite incredulous. We're like, really?
You don't want to do the Russell T Davies,
And we said,
one?
you don't want to do the good, the new ones. They're cool and all this. And he's like, and Pete, as you said, what was you said?
Oh, they're wanky.
Yeah, I don't think you're a good judge of what actually counts as cool or well realised.
I mean, I will give you. I will give you purely out of sympathy a 2. I don't think. I think the ship is what it is. The strings look awful. It wobbles. The landing.
I must admit, I never noticed the strings before, but of course, I've now got it on Blu-ray, and it's like they're there for everybody to see.
It's not so much strings as actual telephone wire.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
quite thick because the model's huge, so it's quite a weighty model. So they had to have wires,
And
not
then-
strings, wires
Yeah.
to hold this bugger.
and it was holding fireworks for jet engines, and when it lands, it's the most ridiculous looking thing you've ever seen in your life. Something that's supposed to be hundreds of meters across, something that's supposed to weigh millions of tons and carry thousands of Daleks, and it just goes plop.
It can't possibly be carrying thousands of Daleks.
Well,
It's just
no,
that big.
no, it's not. And I mean, really, two is being very generous. I
Only
think
one ship to date has scored 1 for exterior realisation. Would you like to guess which one it was?
go on.
The Button Moon ship.
Yeah, it's better than that.
It's definitely better than that.
I'd argue that, but
No, I think,
No,
I
come on,
think,
it
I
is
think
better
it's
than that.
at least it's consistent colour all over.
And it has moving parts, unlike the
does.
Button Moon ship.
Yeah, or at least intentionally moving parts.
yeah.
So
On that basis alone, you can have your 2.
Thank you.
Mm.
Right, interior.
Oh, for goodness sake!
I know. We have a few sets. We have the landing ramp one, and we have the canteen. We're on to kitchens actually here, aren't we?
Hey, Space Kitchens!
Why would
Space
Daleks
kitchen.
need kitchens? I don't know.
It's for the Robomen, you see, and apparently they all eat dolly mixtures for no adequately explained reason.
Just a quick question, and I'm asking for a friend who totally doesn't post on Twitter. Do you have pictures of the Dalek kitchen?
I'm not sure. I certainly took a picture of the control room, which I put on my Twitter feed, which had the control panel with the helpfully labelled switch total power.
Okay, well, two things came from that conversation. One is, if you got pictures of a Dalek kitchen, I'd like a copy. Again, asking for a friend who totally doesn't post that stuff on Twitter. And secondly, whatever point you were about to ask for this, the total power switch just knocked it down a couple.
Oh, but it's labelled total power. It must be amazing.
It's the same. It's the same as the amazing combat between the Tom Baker's Doctor and Davros in Genesis of the Daleks, where genius, quote unquote, Davros turns around and says to the Doctor, "Don't press that red button, Doctor. It is my life support button. If you touch that, I will die."
Oh, I've just found one for you.
And shockingly, the Doctor presses the button. It's like, so not only have you told me your weakness, you've pointed it out. And that kind of runs throughout the whole of the Dalek methodology.
Well, we also see the room that converts human beings into Robomen.
There's Robo-Men, the third one along.
No.
I've just sent a picture from the Dalek canteen.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't show the machine that produces the dolly mixtures for them to eat. I have found, however, a picture of the machine that produces them. You'll like this, because it does rather appear like it's a Dalek hairdresser's.
Oh, God almighty.
Oh my!
The best bit is their hair done.
No, the best bit in that is the red Dalek there, who's obviously the hairdresser.
Yes,
and probably gossiping about some other Dalek.
Okay,
that's
on
wow.
Something for the weekend, sir.
Would you like a blue rinse?
Well, have you been watching much telly this week, sir? Have you seen that United?
Stars on their eyes, in their eyes, in their eyes.
My vision is impaired. I cannot see. Oh, God almighty. I tell you what, that...
Oh, I found a better one. Hang on. Oh, God.
Oh. This is outstanding. What on earth is that?
It's Bernard Cribbings and Peter Cushing being... the Daleks attempting to turn them into Robomen using their amazing hairdryers.
It looks like the hairdryer's been put inside a phone booth from 1972.
Yes.
God almighty. Okay, then. So is it as bad as Apophysis or Ra's House of 1,000 Bedsheets?
No.
So it's not as bad as that.
Wow, your mileage may vary on that.
It's a little more solid.
Really?
Okay.
Not much.
So what are you actually pitching for?
Tops 2.
At tops 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same as we gave Apophysis Guru attack.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, I tell you what. Let's give you 2, purely because it doesn't have soft furnishings.
Yeah.
So there you go. You got
put it this way: they had the good not put stairs in it, so you know.
Yeah, it hasn't got any stairs. It's got a decent ramp service, so it's good.
It's got a lovely hairdressers.
Yeah.
It's got great disabled access, so that's good. So we'll give it 2 for that.
And all the dolly mixtures you can eat.
Yes. Okay then. So let's muscle on through to science.
Yeah.
Is a thing which exists and has nothing to do with this film.
Well, it's because it's not powered by magic. It has engines.
Yeah.
Well, so does the Guru attack.
1.
Yeah, it's 1.
Okay.
So here we are into the scoring big moment for you, Pete. Cool factor.
Yeah.
Cool factor. What are you going to give this out of 4?
Out of 4, well, it's 1960s cool, which isn't quite as good as modern day cool.
No.
So I'm going to give it 3.
So that's a 3. Andy?
The 1960s is a decade which gave us the Beatles, the Ford Mustang, the Jaguar E-Type, Concorde, and the Dalek invasion ship 2150. It gets nothing.
Right, so we're still on 3. I will give it a 1. Only because it as far as cool is concerned, it's not cool at all, but it's not so bad that I would vomit in its presence.
Really?
No, because it still makes me laugh. It looks like a wall-eyed frog. It reminds me of that joke about, what do you... Hello, I'm a wide-mouthed frog. What do you eat? I eat wide-mouthed frogs. Oh, you don't see many of those around here, do you? I mean, it really is just a laughable-looking ship. I mean, I would give it a 0, but it does make me laugh. So I'll give it a 1 for that. So that's 4 on cool.
Yeah.
Which gives us a grand total of 28 for the Dalek ship, which by my measure puts it as the lowest ship in our entire 41 ships.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 38 ships. We've done 38 ships, and
this has come out as number 38.
38 of 38. Underneath Button Moon by 2 places.
If I'm honest, it's better than I thought it would do.
It's actually worse than the Endurance. It's worse than Rumbelows in Space.
It's worse than the X-Bomber.
I think I might not bother with Doctor Who ships again in future.
Well, you can. There are quite a few good ones. You just might have to go for ones with numbers and stats and stuff. There you go. Okay, so with the Dalek saucer sitting well underneath the cup of the rest of the scores, with 28. Well, I think we should move on, and with that, we shall move on to yours, Andy. And what do you have?
By the time this episode reaches your lovely ears, we will be around the time that the latest, the new Independence Day film came out. So I thought, we're doing Invasion Earth ships, what better than to go back to the ones that, didn't start it all. That's not even the most recent one, if I'm honest. And it's probably not even the most impressive one. Yep. But anyway, the options were given to me, and it was a toss-up between this and the Mars Attack ships. And as much as I really want to do an entire episode solely saying, dag, 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 and I'm going to do it at some point, I figured I'd do the Independence Day Mothership. So, the Mothership from Independence Day, or ID4. The Mothership was the main alien ship which led the attack on Earth on the July 2nd, 1996. Throughout the invasion, the Mothership orbited Earth's moon until on July 4th, when Stephen Hiller and David Levinson infiltrated the vessel with a captured alien spacecraft, disabled its force field and those of the city destroyers, and allowed humanity to win, and had that really rousing speech from Bill Pullman. Hoorah.
And help sell Macintoshes around the world.
Absolutely, because, you need a Macintosh to hack into an alien database. But we'll come to that. Oh, yes. We'll come to that. So, the Mothership, the outward appearance, it consists... Well, it's a big ship. We should probably establish this. I'm not sizing this, I'm just saying it's big. It's very, very big. The ship itself, along its largest axis, which is its length, is 596 kilometres. It has a width of 426 kilometres and a depth of 375 kilometres. It is big, and in fact described as being about a quarter the size of Earth's moon. It's made up of a large kind of domey portion, and then 2 flipper appendages which hang out from underneath.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know why they went with this look. Maybe it's the in thing there. Maybe this is their version of pyramids on the planet that the aliens come
It's
from.
like a buck-toothed Pac-Man.
It is a bit, isn't it? Actually, if you look at if you look at it from above on the thing, well, actually it's from below. It almost looks like an owl.
Mr. Owl.
Mr. Owl.
It's Mr. Owl has come to wreak bloody vengeance upon us.
Explains a lot.
It does. So the outside, it looks like overlapping fields of stilted lava with thin blue shields around it and 83 city destroyers all embedded within the hull. Internally, there are many tunnels leading to the inside of the ship, none of which have any correlation whatsoever to the design of it. But they like to employ triangles for some reason and some weird sort of bluey mist effects that kind of perpetuates throughout the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the ship. Fundamentally, its MO is it arrives at place, deploys its city destroyers, strategic points. How it decides what these strategic points are beyond me. But anyway, it sets those off. Initiates some
it's
weird
some sort of landmarkometer that
it does. My guess here is they've got a copy of something like the National Geographic, what have you, or one of those sort of things, and they flick through and go, "Ooh, that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one," and they basically hover the ships over these massively impressive landmarks for a period of time for some reason, waiting until the most dramatic moment when the countdown reaches 0, and then those city destroyer things can open up the kind of doory to the bluey glowy bits and blow up the cities because reasons.
Yeah,
is what they do. The city destroyers, which are part of the mothership, these are things which are fitted to the ship and deploy from it as such. They're some sort of support craft. These things are about 15 miles across, and they're shaped as weird sort of domes with some sort of petal effect underneath, and they have this weird sort of tower on the front. And these, again, they kind of arrive and kind of just go and dotter around cities, as is their wont, just hovering there until they get annoyed with the helicopters flashing lights at them, at which point they kind of blow them away with some weird point defense-y sort of lasery thing. They carry lots of little fightery, shippy things, all of which are fitted with their own shields. And yeah, basically, they sit around and hover around right up until Bill Pullman gives a rousing speech about how fuck yeah, America, and then they get taken down by an Apple Macintosh and a load of F-18s.
They hang in the air exactly the same way that bricks don't.
Exactly. Pretty much exactly that. Look. I'm going to be honest with you all out here. I know this is going to score well on size and firepower.
Is it,
though? This motherfucker's getting under the bus here.
Is it, though? I mean, is it going to score well on firepower?
Look, just bear with me, is all I say. You may think it's going one direction, but this is going to be a few Space Doctor firsts in this episode.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Let's get on with this motherfucker.
Okay. Right.
So, size. On its longest axis, I believe I said it was 596 kilometers.
Which, by our measure, puts it in the plus 100 kilometers silly range, which gives it...
It is silly.
Gives it 15.
Fine, give it that, but again, stand with me. Okay, speed. Yes. You know what? We have zero information about its sublight or FDR capabilities, so it can have a 1 on both of those.
Nicely played.
Thank you.
Well done.
Furthermore,
golf clap.
Unlike the Dalek ship, this thing just sits there all day long, and even the city destroyers take a week to get anywhere, so it can have 1 because it's a flying motherfucker brick.
It was a strong start, let down by a weak finish.
So, firepower.
Now you're in trouble.
Yeah, you are in trouble here.
I'm in trouble, am I? Now, you gentlemen are probably going to say, but the mothership can't do anything. It just sits there.
That's right.
However, the city destroyers are part of the mothership. They are detached.
Support craft. They are separate vehicles in and of themselves carried by a secondary ship.
They are equivalent of the Vipers from a Battlestar, equivalent of the gliders from the Guo. Things such as this. Look, like I said, trust me on this.
Okay,
trust me.
I don't.
Give it 9.
But yeah, go.
Just give it a 9. Trust me.
What do you mean, give it a 9?
They're city destroyers. Look, just trust me.
That's
please.
those ships.
They're part of that. Just trust me here.
No.
They're part of it. The 83 of them. I could fucking ramp this up. I'm not going to. It's city destroying levels here. Give it 9.
Pete?
Well, yeah, it's fairly inarguable because, yeah, they turn up, they destroy cities, admittedly via the ships they carry, but
unlike Romulan support shuttles, these things actually attach from the hull. These are part of the ship.
But it's not the ship.
It's part of it. It's like the Enterprise saucer separating.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
It is. It is.
It's not.
It is.
Not.
It is.
Not.
It is.
It's like
it turns up.
Oh, by the way, I can control the thing as well, so I'm just giving it 9. So anyway, defense, active defense.
Yeah.
It 0. It's got fuck all.
It's got no defense because we.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, it kind of had. Well, the city destroyer things have those point defenses, but I'm not going to argue that. Just oi, fucking playing around with this thing.
Yeah.
On active defense, I'm giving it 0.
Yes.
Now, on the passive defense, it has shields. These shields, are pretty invulnerable from what we can see. They fire missiles, guns, pretty much anything at it.
Yeah,
and they
nukes.
just shimmer and do anything. You know, they're not good. I'm going to do the next bit straight away because I can see that you're either spooling for a fight or whatever. But my point is, it's the shields, I think, were fairly consistent, are, quote, perfect, end quote, as in nothing can penetrate said shields, right?
No, I go along with that. They have to be taken down by another means, so that's fine. Right?
So for special, and this is a space luxury first, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on a second. What were we giving it for passive? So it's 5.
Perfect shields, it can have a 5. For special.
It's overtaken the Dalek ship already. No.
Oh, no. It may seem like that, but
no.
Unfortunately,
well, it has.
It's not going to last because for special, I think we have to make an allowance where you have a intergalactic civilization capable of city-destroying levels of firepower and these big sort of boomy ships and so forth and all that, which can be taken down not only by a single Mac computer, but one which then displays a skull and crossbones going, ho, 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 ho. So, for special, I'd like to give it -10.
Do you know what? I'll give you that.
Thank you.
-10. There you go.
Now, for crew, now the size. Look, at the end of the day, however you want to spin this, there's a lot of fucking aliens on that fucking ship. I mean, you see that bit when they're flying through the thing, there's legions of them there. Hundreds and hundreds and thousands of legions.
Yeah.
But you know what?
What?
They're not flying it.
To me, they strike me almost as stormtroopers or ground assault things.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think it's just that one bloke sitting in the control panel. So I think a crew size for this motherfucker is 1.
Yes. I go along
Errol
with it.
the alien.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, for competence, now, funnily enough, I would like to ask for this. I'm thinking -10 again. Because fundamentally, they allow an unmarked ship which has been lost for 50 years to just rock up without question. And again, everything we've seen to suggest the fighters don't come to the mothership. They go to the city destroyers, which then go to the mothership. So this thing's shown up from nowhere. They just let it in. No questions asked. Let it dock.
Yep.
Let it hack into it.
Yep.
And then fire a missile. And even then, what does he do when he starts getting suspicious? He tries to open up the windows and has 3 ships hover up outside it.
Yeah, they don't even send anyone in to board the ship and take a look.
They don't. -10, if you would.
A -10 you shall have.
Thank you, sir. Now, for realization, I got to say, it's shit. It is shit. It looks shit. You can't see it because it's black. The most impressive thing with this ship is the city destroyers are kind of cool. But they on its own don't account for the fact that the mothership itself looks wank. It's so dark, you can never see it. The only time you see this ship clearly is at the point when it blows up and you get a bright, bloody flash.
Not even a good one.
And not even a good flash, to be perfectly honest. And again, it's this whole 2D explosion thing, which is just kind of wank. I don't even think it's particularly... I mean, the best thing about its entire appearance is the shadow crossing the moon. And radar images.
And
so
for
exterior realization, I'm thinking... I'm going to go for 2 just because I really don't feel comfortable giving it the same one I gave Button Moon.
What about you, Pete?
I'm happy with him giving 2.
Yeah, 2. Away you go. Fill your boots. Interior.
The interior realization, it's slightly cooler in so much as it's got this kind of bluey, greeny mist and stuff everywhere, and it's kind of cool how the thing docks.
Yep.
So based on that, I'm going to go for a 3.
3. Yeah. It's kind of weird because does the interior of the dock count as the interior of the ship?
Well, it's the only time we go inside the ship and see anything of it.
Yeah, but I was going to say, but the only bit of the actual ship inside, as in where people walk, we see is basically Dobby the house elf staring from his flight control systems.
But even the dock, though, you do see all those aliens massing on that sort of...
Well, you see a green screen with a bunch of things standing on a thing.
Oh, mate, if you want to give it 2... At this point, do you really think I give a shit?
No, not really, but I think I would be inclined to give it 2, maybe 3 at a push, but I'll fall to Pete on that one.
You don't see an awful lot of the interior, do you? So
not really.
2, I think, is fair.
Yeah, I mean, because that dock isn't really it is the interior of the ship, but it isn't the interior as we've been sort of measuring, as in corridors and what have you.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, anyway, moving on then.
So science.
This is kind of a little bit more awkward because we don't know anything on its FTL and all that sort of shit. I can't really dock at any points on that. Don't worry. We're going to dock it points. I'm just doing the preamble bit. Effectively, we don't... Look, I'll cut to the chase. I don't think it's quite away with the fairies, but equally so, it's not getting anything more than a 2. So I'm like a 1 or a 2. I'm leaning towards the 2 just because I don't see any hand-wavium sort of stuff there. I mean, the exosuits for the aliens kind of makes sense. Not the tentacle porn bits, just the...
But that's them, not the ship.
Exactly, that's more them, not the ship.
Can I just throw something out?
Oh, please do.
Two things. One, something the size, pretty much the size or a quarter the size of the moon, would have a mass and a gravitational field, which in theory would affect the Earth quite significantly.
Fair point, well made.
Right. Second thing is, you're on the moon and you hear... How does that work in a vacuum precisely? And so much.
While I applaud your enthusiasm, and I'm totally with you with the whole gravitational effect one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the sound in space is something we can't really go down.
But it was more the fact that whatever it is, the rumble. See, normally sound in space doesn't bother me, and that's fine. I'm totally down with that. But when sound in space rumbles to the point where it actually makes the moon shake.
And I'm not arguing this point because I'm trying to save a point. I'm more arguing it for the sake of the argument.
No, that's cool.
But that could be the gravitational stuff.
It could be, except for the fact it's shown to be build as the sound does, as opposed to the shadow.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I said, mate, give it a 1, give it a 2. Also, I care not a jot.
Also, when it goes kablooey, and leaves a detonation that literally rains thousands upon thousands of tons of debris upon the Earth, what do you think that might have done to the nearby moon?
What we've done for the nearby moon? To be fair, though, we have precedence on this. As we know from Return of the Jedi, you can blow up something the size of a small moon next to a planet with no discernible side effects.
But yeah, well, fair enough. But in fairness, when we're talking about something the size of a small moon sitting almost in orbit of something the size of a small moon and detonating, so that would be like blowing up a Death Star next to a Death Star.
Mate, give it a 1. I don't care. I have no fucks left to give.
Look upon your field of fucks, for it is barren.
You will see that it is barren indeed.
Right, okay, so cool factor.
Okay, now the cool factor. Now, unfortunately, we do have a rule in Space.Jury where
Yes.
the person bringing the ship cannot give it 0
No, you can't throw it under a bus if it's your ship
if you brought it.
on the cool factor.
You can't. And taking into account the city destroyers, which are part of the ship,
Which are cool.
they are cool. The bits when they're coming through the atmosphere and the fire and the flames and all that, that is cool. So based solely on those parts, I'm going to suggest a 3 to it. I don't think the mothership itself is cool or well realised or anything like that, but the city destroyers, those big saucers which come and hover over the cities and are part of a ship, are cool. So I will give it a 3.
Okay, so that's 3. Pete?
I don't like the design. It's relatively well realised, but it's crap. I'm going to give it 1.
Okay. And I think it looks like half a Satsuma orange with 2 dairy triangles.
You know what it reminds me of, actually?
What's
Do you
that?
remember the original Danger Mouse cartoon?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you remember
yes.
Baron Greenback
Yes.
had a spaceship? Even down to the fact,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it had feet which hang down like those.
It's even
Yeah.
got the eyes on the side.
Yes.
Those
In fact, I need
circular-
to.
Yep.
I need to have a look at
Yeah.
this and see.
Yeah.
Greenback.
That's absolutely bang on. And so for me, it's a 1. So that's 3, 1, 1. That's 5.
Yep.
So I would just like to say,
We have a
in your face, Peter Organ, and your last placing Dalek ship. That, gentlemen, is how you throw a motherfucker under a bus.
Well, you could have done it even worse, to be honest, if you'd let me argue the point with the firepower, because frankly, it doesn't have any firepower. The ships that
Yeah, but I needed to get the city destroyers in there because they are its one saving grace. And they are actually... Look, this is a precedent. I need to fucking say it in stone. They are part of that ship. They're not support craft like Vipers. They come out of it.
No, I don't agree with that.
We know you don't agree with it.
I mean, Pete, ruling, come on, sitting on this. Because...
No,
why-
I think I'm with Andy with this. That they seem to be integral of the design, so that they're bits of the ship that break off
Yep.
to do damage over a greater area, but they are ultimately parts of the greater ship. So,
But to me, I mean, you know, I know this is all moot now that we've got a ship here with 23 points, but... Oh, what's this? What's come up here? Mothership approximate size, yeah.
Okay,
this is
but
the
you'll
Mr. Al-
see. Yeah, you can see Mr. Al there.
Yeah,
He
you
is-
can
yeah.
quite clearly.
Yeah, but as you can see there, the ships are the city destroyers are part of the ship.
But they're not part of the ship. They're not integral to the ship. They're on the hull. They're stuck to the
They're
outside of the hull.
connect-
That's no different. That's no different than fighter craft or saying when you do the Enterprise D that the bridge and the battle bridge are 2 totally different ships. A single ship.
Look,
I mean,
I've thrown it under the bus,
I know,
Lee.
I
Stop
know.
it. I'm going to come and stab you otherwise. I really will.
I was just trying to knock off the 9 points. I was just going to try and really bury it. I mean, but you know, easy either way.
No, you've been outvoted on that one.
Okay,
But
no,
23
I'm
points is 23 points.
23
Respect
points
is due.
Respect is due for the special. That's just absolutely
Special and
Thank you.
skill.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a remarkable piece of work.
And I think entirely warranted.
I think so. I think you're absolutely bang on. So that means at some point you can bring the city destroyers. Is that right?
No, the city destroyers are part of the ID4 mothership. The city destroyers are now off the table. They're
Cool.
part of that.
That's cool. That's absolutely perfect. Then I shall support that heartily. Right. Okay. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So that's it. This week's ships, and I think I actually won with the Gould attack.
You didn't see that coming, did you?
No, I did not. 48 points, and Dalek Saucer Ship with 28 points, and ID4 Mothership 23 points. Frankly, it's been a day, an evening of highs and lows. I think is probably the best way of putting it.
Yes, with a brief Dalek invasion at the bin point.
Yes, indeed. So it just leaves us to wrap up and tell you what we're doing in next show. So I will be bringing the US CSS Nostromo.
Yes, excellent ship.
It was only a matter of time.
It was.
Nice.
I shall be bringing the Speedo Ghost from Ace Trucking.
Which is a superb choice, I think.
Excellent. Well played, sir. Well played.
And you,
And
sir?
I shall be bringing the Serenity, the Firefly class smuggling freighter-y sort of ship from Firefly and the Serenity film.
There you go. And if you hadn't picked it up from that, we are doing freighters. Freighters and freight haulage spacecraft.
I can't believe no one picked a ship from Space Truckers.
No. We might leave that.
I should be doing my entire presentation in trucker speech.
Oh, God.
We're holding you to that. We'll start taking points off every time you slip out of it.
Yeah, every time you're not speaking in rhyming couplets, it'll just, another point off. That'll be it. So, there you go. So, join us next time for the Nostromo versus the Speedo Ghost versus the Serenity. And it just leaves me to say thank you very much for listening. Do leave us some comments on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/spacedockjury, and do follow us on Twitter to watch three men anonymously bicker amongst themselves in the single voice.
Hashtag Neelix for Legend.
Hashtag Adric the Legend. Hashtag
Livingston the Legend.
Hashtag Space Kitchens.
Yeah, okay. So, yes, until next time, take care. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all soon. Till then, tatty bye.
Chew bye.
Space Dock Jury is a production by 3 Angry Beards for GeekPlanetOnline.com.